October 2020, and we're back in Sandton as we do a bit of a tour of South Africa under level 1 lockdown. Thank you so much for tuning in, for listening, for downloading, for subscribing to this podcast. If this is your first time, well, welcome to you, and thank you for making the time. If you want to get in touch with this podcast, don't forget you can email editor@sandtontimes.co.za, and you can connect with us on Telegram and social media at Sandton Times. So if you've got any of those apps, you can do that. If you'd like to visit the blog, you can go to www.sandtontimes.co.za, and then you can subscribe, share, and leave a review or rating for this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, YouTube, whatever you choose. Just pick one of them and subscribe, and you'll get the updates as they come through. Well, welcome to our listeners from Greater Sandton and beyond. This week also including Qatar, the United States, and the United Kingdom this past week. All is well in Sandton land, and as you can hear, we're out and about again, but more on that in a minute. As you know, DeLonghi Coffee keeps this podcast well lubricated, and it's International Coffee Day this week. So DeLonghi is running a great social media campaign that I just wanted to let you know about, where you could win a Perfecta Evo bean-to-cup coffee machine. All you have to do is snap a selfie of yourself with your milk mustache, then share it on Instagram and tag and follow at DeLonghi_SA. So that's at DeLonghi_SA. Follow them and tag them. And then also use the hashtag CoffeeLabSA. That's hashtag CoffeeLabSA. Closing date for the entry will be 20 November 2020, just before midnight. So that's 23:59 if you want to be specific. And they will also be on the corner of William Nicol and Sandton Drive by the Rosebank Union Church on the 1st of October. Which is today, handing out coffee and cupcakes to traffic. So if you want to win a Perfecta Evo bean to cup coffee machine, make sure you enter that Instagram competition. I think it's going to be fabulous to celebrate International Coffee Day. It's also International Podcast Day this week, so why not share this podcast with some friends, family, colleagues, and celebrate this day by passing on some great content. And we always welcome new listeners to this podcast. We also celebrated World Tourism Day this week, and we've been on the road with our mobile studio for an extended tour of a few great destinations to get a first-hand feel of what travel and tourism under lockdown and during COVID-19 looks like. And if you have access to YouTube, you'll be able to watch and listen to this week's podcast to get a bit of a feel of our surroundings. So if you hear some background ambient sounds, this week we're on location at the Maslow Hotel in Sandton, which officially opens this week. And in a moment, I'm going to introduce you to my first guest for this week. He's the captain of the ship here at the Maslow Hotel, General Manager Herman Swart. Welcome to the Sandton Times podcast.
Thank you.
It's your first week back. How do you feel?
Yeah, I must tell you, it's a little bit like having flown an airplane and landed it 6 months ago and not having taken off since. Everything is a bit rusted. Fortunately, we have an opportunity to have a dry run with you guys visiting, and we should be ready for our clients and our guests on the 1st of October.
Well, thank you for having us. It's wonderful to be back at the Maslow. It's a Sandton institution, and it's great to be doing something in our own backyard. We've been doing a lot of touring of South Africa, experiencing the lodges and sister destinations like Sun City. Now we're in our own backyard. How has the entire sort of Sandton hospitality been impacted by this lockdown? I mean, you've got a bit of a peripheral view as well as to what the neighborhood is looking like. And what does it look like?
Yeah, look, I must tell you that most of the hotels in Sandton has dropped, obviously significant numbers in terms of feet. I mean, we're sitting around about 20 to 30% at the moment in the node. There are some of the operations that hasn't opened yet. At the moment, about 2,500 rooms available, 3 to 4 star, 5 star around us, and the guys are struggling to come back. Average spend has gone down. And that's in all businesses, not only hotels. You're looking at about a 40 to 50% drop in average spend. And footfall has dropped significantly. And again, not only in hotels, but in some of the smaller businesses, up to 75% drop in footfall. And people must understand, that Sandton is a hub of economic hub and a commercial hub of the continent. And with people not traveling internationally and big corporates, still sort of trying to keep their people working from home and understanding the obligation to keep their people safe, there's very little feet in the precinct at the moment. Albeit, shopping is starting to increase. I mentioned earlier to some of the guys that I know that Sandton City is about 85% to what they were last year, so feet's coming back from that perspective. But certainly the recovery in the hotel side of things has been very slow. And we're not seeing any fireworks up until, I would say, it was probably June, July next year.
Well, it sounds very much that old adage, I am because you are. It's highlighted again how interdependent everybody is on each other's businesses, that no man is an island and that no one is sort of their own destination. Everyone's sort of interdependent. But I think from what you mentioned earlier on, it's also brought about a whole new camaraderie and maybe a move to work closer together with other properties. Maybe give us a bit of insight as to how that looks.
Yeah, definitely. The guys have reached out to each other way more than ever before. I mean, you can imagine in an environment like this that competition is rife, and I've seen people just helping one another. Big business helping small business. We've all been involved in assisting and advising small businesses during this time to try and keep the guys going, because the small business down the road is just as much a part of what we do here as we are. Coming from a Sun City, for example, where you've got a sort of a resort perspective on things, and the only thing that connects the operations to one another is the transport system. Sandton is exactly like that. If the tide comes in, all the ships rise. And it's very important that we make Joburg and Sandton great again and attractive again for all of us, and have a look at bringing people not only to Sandton to come and stay in our hotels, but also to come and experience what it has to offer and what the rest of Johannesburg has to offer. I'm a Pretoria boy, and Johannesburg for me was a big black hole. We would never come here. Being an Afrikaans boykie as well, we stayed away from here. I mean, we just had all these perceptions around traffic, etc. I've been here for a year now, and I'm one of Johannesburg's biggest fans. I have seen some of the most amazing places, and I'm so enthusiastic in getting my friends and family from Pretoria, to come and visit and show them around. Take them to Maboneng, take them to Vilakazi Street and go and show them, what the space has to offer. So I really believe that Sandton being positioned as it is, and if the guys really start taking hands, we can really drive it at utilizing Joburg to drive feet into our businesses.
Well, let's get into the work that needs to happen on the ground now. I believe one of your biggest challenges starting off this week was to try and get the geese off the pool deck, because they kind of made it a bit of a nesting area over lockdown. Correct. But apart from that, what is sort of the agenda for the first couple of weeks as you open up now? Yeah,
the biggest focus is to get ourselves clean, neat and tidy again. You can't believe how a business like this or a building like this deteriorates in 6 months' time. The dirt that settles in everywhere, the dust, and making sure everything works, making sure that everything gets stripped off every single room, everything gets put back on fresh, the room's sealed, making sure that our customers have got peace of mind coming in. The big thing is also getting staff's minds to start up again. People, you can imagine a chef. Okay, look, most of the chefs must probably have been cooking at home, but haven't been cooking for an audience, and it takes a hell of a lot of focus. And also, the guys are not dealing in an environment that they were used to when we closed down. I mean, suppliers are different. Suppliers have got different products. Some of the suppliers have shrunk their stock holding. There's been some interesting things happening. One of the businesses I was involved in during this time, we all of a sudden we realized that the ciabatta wasn't really good. I mean, they were like heavy, and same recipe, but the bread just didn't come out as it should have. And we subsequently found out that it was the flour. The flour supplier obviously sent us stock that has been lying in storage for the last 6 months and has really gone past its sell-by date. And the moment we changed the flour, the product started coming right. So those are the kind of small things that you start learning out of this whole process. But the big thing is to also create an environment where our people feel safe. Nobody wants to come to work where you serve a client where yourself is not in a space where you feel comfortable. So the protocols flow right through the building, right from staff coming on duty, clocking in as healthy on our company staff platform in the mornings, making sure that we issue in with the right kind of PPE, and we've got the right protocols in place to make them feel safe, because they pivotal to what we do. If our staff are happy, our customers are going to be happy. My philosophy has always been, your staff, it's not your customers that are first, your staff are first. And so that's going to be a big thing. And also all businesses are going through uncertainty at the moment. So right sizing, downsizing, streamlining businesses, and staff are uncertain. And we need to get those things out of the way as quickly as possible too, in order to take our business forward. You don't want people, in an environment where they're afraid of their futures. And that stability is paramount to us from a leadership perspective. But I think mostly to welcome our people back and make them feel welcome and give them the hospitality that we expect them to give to the rest of our clientele. That's where the main focus is going to be.
Well, some of that clientele as well, in Sandton specifically, is also very much made up of cabin crew. Yeah. And I know that's sort of almost like a staple diet for a lot of the five-star hotels in Sandton. Also, a lot of uncertainty around that. Have you got a bit of perspective on when your cabin crew clients will be coming back and what that's going to look like?
Yeah, we've got one almost definite on the books, but it's very, very slow. And I think the guys are watching each other to see what the trends are. We've got, this particular booking is for 4 days a week, 16 crew members, so that's 16 rooms, and that's good business for an operation such as us, because it's confirmed and it's definite, and it gives you that churn. But we would certainly, look for getting a couple more crews in the house. I reckon most probably about 20% of your stock or of your inventory needs to go to that kind of consistent business. But the other guys, they all seem to be a little bit reluctant to make a commitment at this point in time. And people are also obviously very price sensitive, and they also know that the businesses are competing against each other. So they're obviously also trying to force the price down as far as they possibly can, which in one case is a good thing. Competition is good, but we also need to understand, I think, as a microcosm and a mini economy, that if you force prices down too far in terms of bringing people back into the node, there's jobs at stake. You need to cover your overheads, and we are all pushing our service providers as well to sort of come to the party, because everybody's cash flows are under pressure. But at some point you're going to have to reach that state of equilibrium. So we also need to be careful, that we don't price ourselves too far down and we can't recover from that.
Yeah. Well, Herman Swart, you've got one hell of an exciting and challenging time ahead of you as you reopen the Maslow Hotel in Sandton, and as it just shows, I suppose, a bit of a rising tide, as you mentioned, for Sandton itself, and let's hope that it's a positive momentum that we build up as we go forward. Thank you so much for joining us on the Sandton Times podcast, and I look forward to connecting with you later on this year, early into 2021, and see how we've been doing.
Perfect. Thank you. It's really good speaking to you guys. Thank you for giving me the time.
Right, now let's get into stories making headlines in Sandton for this week. This update is brought to you by megaflightdeals.com, your one-stop for non-stop cheap flights. So if you're traveling anywhere, if you're flying anywhere, make sure you check out megaflightdeals.com. First story this week is that the orange jerseys for Orlando Pirates were announced this week. Orlando Pirates introduced an unprecedented orange away jersey for the 2020-2021 DStv Premiership season, and this was revealed in Sandton. Kickoff reports that they have, however, retained the black jersey traditionally worn by the Soweto Giants for home games, and have also reintroduced the skull and crossbones logo instead of the official club crest. Then there's a new hotel opening in Sandton this month in an unprecedented time for business and business travelers globally. Hotel Sky Sandton, which is a new hotel in the heart of Sandton, is set to open its doors as lockdown restrictions ease. Spearheaded by veteran hotelier Paul Kelly, Hotel Sky Sandton is considered to be the new jewel in Sandton's crown, and set to welcome its first guests in October despite the obstacles faced by the hotel and travel industry in 2020. The Sandton Hotel will be located on the corner of Maud and West Street, and the hotel will have 453 exquisitely designed rooms and suites, and has enlisted state-of-the-art hospitality technology aiming to make guests' stays as simple, convenient, comfortable and unforgettable as possible. This also includes seamless app-based reservations, check-in and room access, uncapped high-speed Wi-Fi, and 3 AI-powered robots to assist with luggage, room service, and guest relations. Then mall numbers seem to be up again. Liberty 2 Degrees, the joint owner of prime shopping centres such as Sandton City, Eastgate, and Midlands Mall, this week reported a sharp uptick in weekend foot count at its centres, and this is according to MoneyWeb. So Liberty 2 Degrees reported that the weekend foot count on its flagship and largest shopping centre, Sandton City, in Joburg, is at 85% of last year's levels. And besides Sandton City and Nelson Mandela Square, Liberty 2 Degrees jointly owns the 5-star Sandton Sun and Intercontinental Johannesburg Sandton Towers Hotel. The group is also part owner of the Garden Court Sandton City and the Sandton Convention Centre, and all the hotel properties are managed by Tsogo Sun Hotels. William Nicol to be renamed after struggle stalwart Winnie Madikizela-Mandela. Councillor Jeffrey Makubo, who's the executive mayor of Johannesburg, has announced that the city has started a public consultative drive to have William Nicol Motorway in the north of Joburg renamed to Madikizela-Mandela Drive. The arterial road, which stretches from Hyde Park on Jan Smuts Avenue until Summit Road near Diepsloot in the north, is named after a Dutch Reformed minister, theologian, educator, and administrator of the then Transvaal province, William Nicol, who lived between 1887 and 1967. Nicknamed the Mother of the Nation, Madikizela-Mandela was resident of Johannesburg since 1952, when she moved to the city from her birthplace in the then Transkei. And there's a wet weekend ahead. The Citizen reports that forecaster Kologelo Mahlungu foresees a 60% chance of thunderstorms from now until Saturday. The Weather Service has issued a warning for severe thunderstorms to parts of Gauteng and neighbouring cities. So it's going to be a wet weekend. Alright, as we make our way around the Maslow Hotel in Sandton that reopens this week, I'm joined by Sibongile Morale, PR Marketing and Events Manager here at the Maslow Hotel. Sibongile, thanks so much for joining us on this podcast.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to have you here at the Maslow today.
Well, Sibongile, I must tell you, you've got a very daunting task ahead of you. I mean, you're responsible for PR and marketing at a hotel in Sandton, and I suppose all bets are off at the moment. I mean, whatever you knew 6 or 8 months ago in terms of marketing a destination in Sandton is now null and void, isn't it?
Yeah, especially from a business hotel perspective. Right now, the focus is really on domestic tourism, local tourism, and we're a business hotel. So we're having to really be creative around campaigns and packages that we are offering in order to get footfall to the property, because a lot of our corporates are still working from home, and that is a virtual situation. Our conferencing hasn't really come up back to speed, so the business that we know, which is business, is limited at the moment. So we're really needing to be slightly more creative than the usual as a property.
So give me a bit of insight in terms of your breakdown. You were talking about a business hotel, so there was, I guess, domestic business. What was your Pan-African business looking like? What were your international travelers looking like? How much of that was part of your sort of daily bread and butter?
So our bread and butter is local corporates, because we're surrounded by your Nedbanks, RMB, Discovery, all these hubs, head offices are surrounding the Maslow Hotel. So that's really our bread and butter. We do cater to the African market. I mean, we are centralized in the business hub of the shopping in Sandton. So people come from Africa for more the shopping experience. That's the kind of clientele we had. And we even had packages around stay at the Maslow and do a Sandton City shopping. And then our international groups that were coming in were like tour series groups that were usually using Maslow as a stopover, going to our other properties, which is your Sun City, your Table Bay. So those are our Sun Lux brands, where you stop over at the Maslow and you really get to experience this whole Sun International, Sun Lux brand route. So that's how we got our international. But the key focus for us is our local corporates. Then we had, on the weekends, we have a lot of leisure elements where, funny enough, as a business hotel, we turn into a high tea venue on the weekends, we turn into a baby shower venue, we turn into a wedding venue on our lawn. So that is what the traffic is on the weekend. But during the week, it's really corporate business.
So that's not there anymore. That's
Yes.
looking a bit interesting, and it's all on Zoom. So take me into your head. At the moment, you're sitting here, you're thinking about what are we going to do to get people into this hotel? And what is that strategy? What does that look like?
Yeah, so the key focus for us, as emphasized by our general manager, is always just to make sure that we're partnering. in this time that we're in, everyone is facing a difficult time, and the best way to really go through these times is to ensure that we're partnering. So what we're looking to do things differently is like working with stakeholders like your Joburg Tourism to say we want to include local tourism in our packages. So when you're speaking on what to do, it's really about trying to get families here, trying to get couples here over a weekend, because what ultimately happens is that a lot of people are coming onto the properties for dining and wine dining and the bars and the gardens, but we also still, our business is to get people into staying at the Maslow. So we usually used to get that through our corporates and conferencing. So if they're not traveling, that's why we're trying to create packages that are speaking to maybe a hiking itinerary in Maslow. Stay at the Maslow and experience a hike route of Johannesburg. We're also looking at partnering with our top restaurants in the node and just saying, as much as we've got a restaurant brand in the property called the Kuna Bistro, what other things can people explore outside? So we're trying to not the old school hug, it's our business, we don't want them to see anything else but Maslow. As you see with media, you would be experiencing the red bus tomorrow. We are one of the red bus stops for the red bus, so we are a pickup point every single day for the red bus. So we're trying to get those elements really emphasized for that. And then from a corporate perspective, what we're trying to do is that showcase the different working spaces of Maslow. We currently here having this interview in the bar, and it's a workspace. So we're trying to get people to fill our bars, our restaurants, and actually work in here, or whether use our room as a night stay for work. So we are trying to bring that come out of your homes, and this is a business hotel that gives you space to be able to work. We've got our boardroom. So that's really where our strategy is kind of at the moment, and have some business lunches available, like a quick lunch for people to come and have meetings. And that is where we're really going to start the main strategy picking up back into. But as well, we've set up our Sun Studios, which are a virtual conferencing feature that people can experience and still try to get that conferencing business by setting that up with the panels on site, but everyone else is zooming in.
Well, you showcased this. We took a bit of a walk around.
Yes.
You had this new studio feature that you've now incorporated into your eventing space. And to paint a picture for those people listening, take a ballroom, a room that you would have an event space in, add in some LED screens, add in sort of all that technical equipment, and almost turn it into a studio environment.
Yes, 100%.
That'll stream to the rest of the world. And this is now the new way of doing events, isn't it?
Yes. So the reason why we're also very excited about this is, as much as we'd like to get the feet in from a property perspective, the reason we welcomed this concept is we're a green hotel. We recently won the best green hotel in the node at the Maslow, awarded by South African Tourism. So those are things that actually contribute to carbon footprint within the society, and that's why it's something we were very happy to support as a property as well, moving into the times that we are going into.
One of the other big attractions at the Maslow is the Africology Spa. So for those people who are not coming for the high tea, or they're coming to work, they can also come to relax. And that is also reopening now. Take us through that. I mean, what's the offering?
Yeah, what's beautiful about Africology Spa, it's a brand. It's one of the properties that they have is at the Maslow, but it's a brand that you find in Parktown, it's a brand that you found in Rosebank, so it's a prominent brand that's within the property. But I think the biggest secret that you saw today is that it's got a deck. So Maslow is known to be an oasis in Sandton because of our garden and trees. You see tonight we're having a dinner with the view of all that garden space. So I think that is the secret offering that people are not aware of, where that Africology has that garden deck with all that greenery to offer. They've also implemented a lot of COVID protocols, so the capacities will really be lower, but they've managed things like, for a steam room perspective, those will be carefully managed and booked per couple and refreshed, so those will only be available on booking. It won't just be if you're in the spa, you can utilize those spaces. So we've been very comfortable to partner with them in the sense that they also COVID ready from a safety and hygiene perspective, and they're local South African products. That's what's very beautiful about them, and that's what we use. I mean, even from our guest perspective, even when they're looking for a gift to take away from an international perspective, it's beautiful because their products are made from rooibos products, and it's a South African brand that we're happy to have at the hotel.
So now a hotel's reopening, trying to get feet through the door. Are there any great rates, any interesting packages that you're going to be bringing out over the next couple of weeks that South Africans can take advantage of if they want to experience the Maslow?
Definitely, we will have quite a few packages that will be offered and onto the property. I mean, there's depending on what you're looking for, from date packages to couples to stay over, to different things that we'll be offering. So I think that would be the best idea, is to rather refer to our website just to see what accommodates you and your family. But definitely we will be looking at a few campaigns coming up. And I mean, we're going to the end of the year as well, so we will be looking for festive stayovers, year-end functions. There will be a lot speaking to that part of where we are right now within the year.
Well, it's only the first week that you're opening again, so I'll give you a bit of breathing space, but best you keep an eye on the Maslow's social media accounts as well, on the website, and I'm sure they'll be releasing interesting rates and packages as we go along. Sibongile Morale, PR, Marketing and Events Manager at the Maslow, thank you so much for joining us on this podcast.
Thank you so much.
Right, time for a quick break as we come to an end of part 1 of episode 27, week 40. We've got some great interviews lined up in part 2. We're coming to you from the Maslow Hotel in Sandton, and you're listening to the Sandton Times podcast.